what I'm going to do is just start off. We're going to go way, way back and ask you first, and you just kind of talk to me or whoever is asking questions.
Talk to you?
Yeah.
You're asking a lot, aren't you?
Everything you've been through, you can put up with this.
Mike,
can
this
talk
is
to me,
serious
yeah.
now.
Huh?
This is serious now.
Serious stuff.
Or you can talk to him too, or any of them. Yeah, but
Okay.
Not him. I don't want to talk to him. I know him too well.
but he said you'd want to talk to him. Boy.
No.
Okay, well, I guess
All right, you ready?
I'm going.
Do you know what? I held him in my arms when he was born.
Really?
I should have dropped the buzzard.
Oh, no.
Was he this big?
Huh?
Was he this big?
He was pretty big.
Okay, we're going to go through from the time that where you were born and that background, Mike.
Just, tell me where you were born and where you were born. When and where.
Where was I born?
You were
Bear Creek,
born?
Montana. Bear Creek, Montana.
And what date?
What was the date? What was the date you were born?
9/18/12.
Oh, he's in good territory. Okay.
Did you get that?
I sure did. Now, what's your name? Tell us your name.
Michael M. Todorovich.
Okay, where did you grow up then?
Well, Thermopolis, Wyoming. Where else, Mother?
Well, you lived in Jibo and you lived in Kirby.
I lived in Jibo, Crosby, Kirby, and Thermopolis, Wyoming.
Most of them
Okay.
are gone now.
Where'd you go to school and where'd you go to college?
Well, I went to grade school in Jibo. I went to high school in Thermopolis, Wyoming. And I went to college on a football scholarship at Gonzaga University in Spokane, Washington. Then I did a master's there, and then I studied my doctorate at Stanford.
What was your major? What did you study?
Eastern European Studies.
Now, what year did you get out of college?
37.
37?
37.
Okay, what did you do after you graduated? Did you go to work then?
Well, then he went to graduate school.
What did I do after we got out?
You were glad to get a job with H.J. Heinz. So
I went to work for the Heinz Company, H.J. Heinz. You remember the old pickle company? They're still in existence, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, where were you on December 7th, 1941, and what do you remember about that?
December 7, 1941, we were in...
We'd been to see your mother and we were driving in the car back to Butte, Montana, where we lived,
Butte,
and heard
Butte.
the news on the radio.
Butte, Montana.
Okay, did you figure then you were going to have to be going into
I'm
service?
sorry, I could...
Okay, did you think then you were going to have to be going into service when you heard the news of Pearl Harbor?
I knew I was going to go into service. I wanted to serve my country.
Okay, how did you go in then? Did you enlist right away?
I volunteered immediately.
Okay, what branch of service did you go in?
U.S. Navy Intelligence,
Okay,
because I had linguistics, you see.
where did you go first for your boot camp? Boot camp was where?
What was the question? I couldn't hear you.
Boot camp, where did you take your training?
Your training there when you first
Yeah.
went in the Navy.
I'm trying to remember.
Was it Farragut?
Where, he asked me.
Was
Yeah.
it Farragut in
Wasn't Farragut.
Idaho?
Huh?
Was it Farragut, Idaho?
No.
No, okay. Well, it doesn't matter. So what did you actually do then in service? You had in all of this linguistic...
I was with Naval Intelligence. From the very beginning, I was in the intelligence service.
And what was your first your first
Assignment.
overseas assignment, Mike?
Huh?
Your first assignment overseas, what was it?
JICA. Do you remember them?
Who?
JICA. In Cairo.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in Cairo, Egypt.
What did you do there?
Can I explain to you about JICA?
We don't have a mic on you at all, so we have to kind of have him tell us, if you can remind him.
He had linguistics of the area that they were interested in. He and the Greek boy, native Greek boy, another Yugoslav, Nikonius and Kusunich.
Kusunich, yes.
Yeah. And they sent them all to what they called Joint Intelligence Command in Cairo. From there, they assigned them out on cases.
And where'd you go after you were done with your school there in Cairo? Where were you assigned?
To JICA.
Okay, but
We need to have him say it as much as we can.
What'd you say, Mother?
They sent you to JICA.
where'd
to
you
Cairo.
go after JICA?
Yeah, I went to Cairo,
And they
Okay.
sent him.
Egypt.
They sent him all over the Mediterranean.
And when I got to Cairo, they sent me all over through all that country. Egypt. God, I even went into Yugoslavia from there.
Yeah, do you want to tell us about your trip into Yugoslavia with the submarine? Yeah, I think that's important,
What?
about going into Yugoslavia, because you knew the language so well.
To Tito's headquarters.
Huh?
To Tito's headquarters.
Yeah, I was sent to Tito's headquarters. Do you remember him?
Sure do.
Yeah, because I had linguistics. And being with naval intelligence, they used my education and my knowledge of that part of the country and my linguistics. They used them all.
What did you do there with Tito?
With Tito?
Yugoslavia? Mhm.
God, I handled 3 or 4 different parts of that country for him.
And how long were you in Yugoslavia, Mike, on that
Do
assignment?
you remember, Mother?
It was on and off. They'd bring you out, then you'd go back again.
See, I was not headquartered there. I was in and out of Yugoslavia
Yeah.
for several years.
Yeah.
And then, I was going to ask you, okay, then from there you were assigned up to Murmansk?
In a roundabout way. He got malaria in Cairo.
Yeah,
They sent him back home to recuperate. I had him home for about 6 months. Then they sent him to, there's where you went to New York.
yeah, I went to New York City.
Yeah.
School.
Go ahead and tell us in your, because you have the mic on there, that you had contacted malaria, so you had gone back home and then they reassigned you. So go ahead and say that.
Tell you what?
Tell us about how you got malaria in Cairo, and then you were back home, and then you went to New York.
Yeah, then I was in New York City.
And then from there you went to Murmansk.
Yeah, he had been sent to port director school
That's right.
to learn how to handle
port director school.
Material that was going to Russia at Murmansk. And he was attached to the
Let's move the
Mission
mic table
in
back down. We're not gonna be able to-
In Murmansk, that's right.
to receive
Let me
all
just
this.
down-
They're gonna have to take it down below.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Mike,
Okay.
can you tell us about your time in Murmansk? What you remember about Murmansk?
The driver's lesson, driver's test,
In Murmansk,
Yes.
yeah.
so that you could drive. Do you remember it?
I drove over all that country, Winnie.
But do you remember the driver test? When they gave you every obstacle so that you wouldn't pass your driver's test?
They tried to keep me from passing it. And I went through all the obstacles which they placed in front of me. So that was more fun for me than anything else.
And can you tell us the story about the little cleaning lady in your office and the microphones? That's a good story.
The mission was bugged.
Huh?
The mission was bugged. The mission was bugged.
Yeah, my mission was bugged, and the little lady told me it was bugged.
Little lady, who was she? Cleaning lady?
Well, you could say that, but she was also a very intelligent woman assigned to their intelligence service. So she was keeping me posted all the time. I knew exactly what was going on because she'd tell me.
How did she get to trust you that much that she'd tell you?
Because I'm so intelligent. At least that's what she told me.
Hadn't she lived in the United States at one time?
She had been to the United States because she had relatives, and she'd come to visit the relatives and liked it and really wanted to stay. Very fine woman.
Can you tell about how she took you into the pantry to tell you that?
I can't hear you.
Tell us about when she took you to the pantry, and that was the one room that wasn't bugged, and you told her about you were kidding her. What day did you report to the party? And she went like this. She says Tuesdays.
Yeah, she took a shine to me, and she kept tipping me off as to what they were after. So I knew precisely what they wanted all the time. She would tell me. I liked her.
And can you tell the story about when you went from the hotel down, everywhere you went, they had some guy following you, wanted to know what he asked, and then the one morning you came down earlier and he was asleep on the couch in the lobby of the hotel, and you went over and you shook him, said, "Hey, comrade, wake up. I don't want you to miss me and get in trouble." That's a good story.
Yeah, start right from the beginning and
Yeah.
tell us that story.
Well, that's all there was to it.
No, but
But you
you
need
tell
to
it,
tell
'cause-
us. You need to
because
tell
see,
us,
it's
yeah.
gonna be on film.
You've got
Yeah.
the microphone.
So
Yeah.
Tell
Don
the
knows it,
story.
but we don't. So
Which one was that, Dookie?
Well, where you were in the hotel, and you remember where you came, the guys would check they were following you everywhere you went, and one morning you came down earlier and you went over, and the guy was sleeping. The guy that was following you was sleeping, so you went over and woke him up so he wouldn't get in trouble with his superiors. And he says, "Oh, thanks, I appreciate that." But anyway, you tell that story.
Well, that's
Over
all
here.
there.
No, but you have to tell it here because you have the microphone.
You mean when I came downstairs,
Yes.
there was this lady.
Was she the one that was following you?
No. She's the one who tipped me off that I was being followed.
Well,
but then this was in the hotel.
yeah, this was in the place where you were staying, and this was
Yes.
a man that was following you.
Yes.
What
So
happened
tell
there?
that story.
Yeah. What happened there?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you, can you tell the story about when you were taking a picture of that Russian icebreaker? And the soldier came in behind you? Do you remember that?
Do you, Winnie?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. My mind's shot. Fella came in when I was taking a picture of the icebreaker,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then what?
Well, then that in behind that dock, that Russian soldier was going to shoot you. Remember the Russian soldier? Had his gun up and he said stop, and because you were taking a picture of that, he was going to shoot you. And you told him that if he shot you, and then that would stop all the shipment of all that Lend-Lease stuff in there, and you walked away and didn't know if he's going to shoot you or not. then the next day, you you saw him, and then he says, you know, I should have shot you when I had the chance.
That's what he told me.
But go ahead, you tell that story, Mike.
Well, that's all there is to
No,
it.
but see, you're on camera. See, you have this microphone.
We can't hear him because you have the microphone. So
Well, let's see. Which one was it, Dookie?
About when you were taking the picture of the icebreaker.
I was taking a picture of the icebreaker.
Right. And that soldier came up with the gun.
Russian soldier.
And he came up, put the gun behind my back. And as I recall, I talked to him a bit, and he took the gun down. And what happened then? Did I tell you?
Well, yes, you said that you told him if he shot you, that would stop all of the shipments into Murmansk.
I told him if he shot me and didn't kill me, that would stop all the shipments to Murmansk. And he realized then he didn't want to kill me. That's what it was.
Then you saw him the next day then?
Oh, I saw him several times after that. But they were all really good to me after that.
Okay, and let's see, the other ones. What about when they were loading these ships and they had all these Russians from the Gulag, from the prison camps to unload the ships, and how you got messages on the ship? Do you remember that? That's all in this book.
Okay.
Mike, you know when the ships would come in to Murmansk,
Yeah?
and then they would get all those Russian prisoners from the prison camps to unload the ship.
Right.
And you were always able to get some kind of a message on board that ship to send back to England or the United States.
Well, I used several of them whenever Uncle Sam wanted something over there. I'd use them to take it back.
Oh my. Now, who is them?
The Yugoslavs.
Yeah, those were the Russian prisoners, weren't they?
Part of them.
Yeah.
That's
Part of them were Russian prisoners.
they
See,
were
I speak Russian
professors.
as
They
well
were
as
really well educated.
a Russian does.
Yeah.
So they'd take the information back, Dookie.
Yeah. And how many people were in those prison camps, would you say?
Oh, God. Hundreds. Hundreds. Yeah, and they'd all talk to me. And they'd tip me off as to what was going on. And one of the ladies who was in charge called me over, and she said, don't trust so-and-so. She tipped me off as to whom I could trust and whom I couldn't trust. Then she'd keep me informed as to precisely what was happening.
How many languages did you speak?
7.
What were they?
Yugoslav, Polish, Czech, Bohemian,
Italian.
Italian, Spanish, and
English.
Russian.
there was one other, Bohemian. That was it.
So anywhere you went, you could talk with people where other Americans couldn't.
Pardon?
Anywhere you went, then you could pretty much talk to people where other.
This
Americans
is what
couldn't.
made it so simple for me, was the fact that I had 7 foreign languages. And I could talk to virtually anyone there. There was never any problem. But we had to be very careful so that they wouldn't be pinned
Did he
down.
ever tell you this story about being on the train going to
Yeah.
Moscow?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Do you
Yeah.
remember when you were on the train going to Moscow and there were all these Russian officers on board?
Yeah.
They didn't realize you knew how to speak Russian.
Oh, yeah. I was riding train to Moscow, and they had, I don't know how many Russian officers were aboard. None of them knew that I could speak Russian, so I understood every word they said.
And they were talking about you.
Huh?
They were talking about you.
Oh, yeah, they talked about me.
And what did they say?
They called me an SOB.
Fat pig and everything.
Huh?
Didn't they call you a fat American?
Yeah, an American pig.
Uh-huh.
And what'd you say to them then? Nothing.
When you got off, you went by and
When I
spoke in Russian.
walked over after we got off the ship, I walked over and I spoke perfect Russian to them.
Well, Mike, the other thing, the story I want you to tell is when you were at that dinner in Moscow and they were toasting, and then with that woman toasted you, and then you toasted something. Here's to your long stomach instead of here's to your long life.
Yeah, that's right.
I want you to tell that story for the camera.
Do you remember it, Mother?
You don't? Oh, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Where was I?
You were in Moscow. It was after every successful convoy trip, they always had a big banquet.
Big party.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were toasting each other. And Mike got up and got his Yugoslav mixed up with his Russian. And it came out long stomach
And here's to your long stomach. Now,
instead of
yeah.
long life.
It said long life. Now, can you tell that story, right now for the camera? From about every time the convoy had a successful convoy. Start from there.
Well, they would compliment me on the way that I helped everyone. And then they told this long story. What was?
About what?
About then you had your party and they were toasting you with the wine.
Yeah, we had a
And
party.
what'd she say to you? That lady, what'd she say to you? Here's to your long life.
Eto dla vašej dolgi život, to your long stomach.
Yeah, you told her that. Okay.
Yeah.
Surprised her. I'll bet.
Yeah, I said, here's to your long stomach in Russian.
Well, Mike, one other thing I wanted to have them put on film. When you were in the Mediterranean, you were assigned to British intelligence, and somehow things got mixed up, so they put you in that dungeon in Malta. Do you remember that story?
When they put me in the dungeon in Malta.
Malta, yeah.
Do you, Winnie?
And finally the British.
Well, they didn't know who you were.
Yeah, then the
and
British
they
learned.
thought you were a fake, so
Yeah.
They thought I was a spy. And they had me in the prison, and then when they learned, they released me. And they came over and gave me a big hug and took care of me. Oh, it was just lovely.
And where was this? That was on Malta, wasn't it? Can you say
Yeah.
Malta?
I was in Malta, right.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Those are
and then he was aboard a lot of the British ships, weren't you?
Oh, I boarded many British ships. They used my linguistics.
The
But the-
landing at Bari.
Huh?
You were there for the landing at Bari.
Yes.
Say that.
Yeah.
I was there when the British landed in Bari.
And what else happened at Bari? That's where the German planes hit that orphanage on the beach, close to the beach. Do you remember that?
Uh-uh.
No, that's yeah. That
Yeah.
Do you? What was the story?
The British mistakenly hit this orphanage and all the babies were in it. And you helped carry them out.
Out of the ships. Yeah, that were sinking. I'd help the British carry them out. They took them to hospitals.
But you had two little ones about the same age, and a whole bunch of you cried.
And a whole bunch what?
Those of you that were helping rescue the children were crying.
Yeah, we couldn't help but cry. Rescue all these babies, you know. Well, it was pretty rough. Of course, I've forgotten so much of it, thank God. You know?
Oh,
And
sure.
one of the men, when he got back, told his superiors that Mike was a crybaby.
I'd cry with these kids, you know. So they accused me of being a crybaby. And I was. I'd hold these kids in my arms and cry. I couldn't help it. I'm very sentimental anyhow. But with so many of those kids that way, you couldn't help but feel so sorry for them. You knew their parents were dead, and there they were. What were they going to do? Oh, my leg.
Hey, what were some of the people that you met? You know, like you said, you met Tito, and who else at different times did you see or not necessarily talk to?
You heard Tito, didn't you? Yeah. Very frankly, even if my wife is present, he was a son of a bitch. Tito. In fact, I told him that. Yeah, I didn't pull any punches with him.
What did he say?
Huh?
What did he say?
He didn't do anything. I called him a sucking scene in Yugoslavia, that son of a bitch.
Not many people did that, did they?
I think I was one of very few who called Tito a son of a bitch and got away with it. Oh, yes.
After the war, Mike wanted to take me there. He was not welcome. No, and the U.S. government told him, no, you don't go back to Yugoslavia.
I was the son of a bitch. That's what he came right out and told me. Of course, I had already told him that he was, too. So it was a mutual admiration society.
Who was it that went Comanche?
Huh?
Who was it that was with Tito's forces and stayed with him or wanted to stay with him? George Muslin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my friends wanted to stay with Tito. Ooh. Remember, that really got me, didn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. George
I
was
told
a
him
tough
what I
one.
thought.
He was going to fight every German there was.
Did he stay?
Huh?
Did he stay then with Tito?
No. God, no. I couldn't stand the son of a bitch. I don't hesitate using that word in anyone's presence when I make reference to Tito. He was a no-good son of a bitch. And anybody who knew him, any period of time, found that out.
The world found out.
Yeah.
Do you remember the man in Cairo that owned all the jewelry stores?
Yes.
He said after the war he was going to come to the United States and he wanted you to run a jewelry store for him.
Sounds like your kind of work, huh?
Well, and the other thing, Mike, you said in Cairo you met Mihailovich. He was, and you can explain, he was part of another guerrilla group, Yugoslavia.
Except he was a fine man.
Yeah.
You heard the name Mihailovich, didn't you? Yeah, I met him in Cairo. and we became very good friends.
Tito killed him.
Huh?
Tito killed him.
Yes, Tito killed him. See, that's why I called Tito something that sounds like our last name.
Now, Mihailovich was a non-communist, right?
Right.
Yeah. Tito, I don't know whether he was a communist or what, but he was a no good son of a bitch.
He was an opportunist.
Yeah.
Huh?
He was an opportunist.
Oh, he used everyone.
Right, everybody.
Everyone. In fact, I don't know of anyone with whom I was in close contact that had any respect or regard for Tito. Do you?
Mm-mm. No.
See, she was always very close to me on all this.
No.
Weren't you, Mama?
Yep.
Uh,
62 years of closeness.
Goodness.
Wow.
That's great.
well,
Yeah, yes?
yes. Now, after you going back to Russia, now after you left Moscow, where did you go? How did you get out of Russia? You remember that? You came out through Baku, down on the Caspian Sea?
Your father had a stroke, and your mother wrote to me and begged that I get you home if it was possible.
Right.
So I wrote to the Red Cross. And before I knew it, I didn't think it would work, but before I knew it, Mike was on his way home. Because his dad, we did not expect him to live. And he was the only boy, 3 sisters. So he got home on our 6th wedding anniversary. Got off the train. The war was not completely over, but almost. So he never had to go back. He just had to go to Washington and check out. That was all.
Yeah.
And then he started fishing.
I had a very interesting life,
Oh my, yes. But you
particularly in
stay away from
Yugoslavia.
intelligence.
Very
Stay
interesting.
away from
No,
intelligence.
that was good.
The Yugoslavs,
Really?
the Yugoslavs had a lot of respect for me
Yeah.
because I was an American born Yugoslav. They had a lot of respect for me because they love America. I don't think I was treated more royally anywhere in my life.
Where was that? Murmansk?
Huh?
Where?
Yugoslavia.
Than by the Yugoslavs.
Oh my, yes. No.
That was a very interesting life.
How did you get into Yugoslavia, Mike?
Huh?
How did you get into Yugoslavia? Was it by submarine and onto the shore, or was it paratrooping? Parachute. You went by. They took you there off coast by submarine, didn't they?
I went in by sub, yes.
Yeah.
George dropped in, didn't he?
Huh?
George dropped in, didn't he?
Who?
George Mussolin?
Dropped in, right.
Yeah.
After I was there.
Yeah.
George Mussolin, one of my Yugoslav American buddies. Gee, he was a Sharpie.
Well, what was your mission there to get information from what was going on in Yugoslavia?
Oh, yes.
So,
Keep an eye on the Germans as well. And the Croatians. So it was a very interesting mission. The very fortunate thing was that I had the linguistics to really handle it. See all the different types of Yugoslavs. And Italian as well. So there I was. They needed me.
Didn't they want you to interrogate some prisoners of war?
Oh, I interrogated I don't know how many prisoners of war for them with my linguistics.
were they mostly the Italians then?
Huh?
Or Italians mostly?
Italians, Serbs, Croatians, Polish.
Yeah.
So I think I used 5 foreign languages. 5 or 7, I've forgotten which. And it was a very interesting life.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
My gosh.
And then you get out of the service and you go back to school. But you couldn't stay away from intelligence, could you?
No.
So, so then what did you do? Go ahead.
Tell him
You're-
when
you're-
he-
You're on the camera.
You tell him.
No,
Well,
we don't have the
we need to
camera
hear
and the
from
mic.
you.
We need to hear from you.
Tell her.
Huh?
What did I do then?
In 1946, tell them what you,
Oh, we went to California and you started teaching at Napa Junior College and drinking wine. He always landed someplace that was something special. And then the Central Intelligence Agency was formed.
They called me to Washington to head the CIA. I went back, listened to them, and I said, no way. They said, why? I said, I'm going to use the precise words, Mother, forgive me. I said, you have too many goddamned brown-nosing bastards back here, and I don't want it. That's precise words, as God is my judge. So they realized I didn't want Washington. So then they let me go out to the West, and that's when I started
Where was it? Cincinnati?
Cincinnati?
in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Dragging 2 kids around. Oh boy, have they had the life.
We had a good life too,
You know?
all the while I was with intelligence.
Well, in Cincinnati, you had one person there, Neil McElroy, that you thought an awful
I'm
lot.
sorry.
Oh, you thought a lot of Neil McElroy when you were in Cincinnati. I
Oh.
remember.
Yes.
Procter and Gamble.
Huh?
Procter and Gamble.
Procter and Gamble, right.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone was so good to me, honestly. I don't think any intelligence officer they had was treated more royally than I was. It was just so wonderful the way everyone treated me. You know what, Mother?
Well,
She knows. She was always with me.
Well, Mike, when you were in Yugoslavia, that you know, you were in an area where there's all these Germans and stuff. Do you remember times where it was pretty close?
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us some of those?
I don't remember what you're talking about.
Well, I think they had to hide you. The Slavs had to hide you, didn't they?
up
Oh,
in
yeah.
the
Up in
attic.
the attic.
Yeah, they had me hidden in the attic so that the Germans wouldn't find me. So I had a pretty good life.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Pardon?
How long have you been married?
Oh, we're not married.
And don't
He's
tell
been
them.
thinking about it all this time.
I asked her the other day, and you know what she said? Hell no, I wouldn't have you.
I know you too well.
Yeah, she said, I know you too well. 1939.
39.
Couple years.
Yeah.
What about your children? What about your sons? You have sons?
We
They have
have
2
a
kids.
son
Yeah.
and a daughter.
Oh,
They're both down in Las Cruces, New Mexico. She's about to retire as a librarian for a high school down there. And our son's been retired because he's ill. And we have 2 grandchildren. I've got pictures everywhere.
And 2 great-grandchildren.
3 great
Yeah,
ones.
Mike, you ought to tell us about the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren for the camera here.
What about them?
Well, so we want you to repeat that because you've got the mic.
Well, we had 3 grandchildren.
2 children.
2 children. How many grandchildren? 4?
2. Holly and
Oh, yeah, we had 2 children and 2 grandchildren. That's right.
now 3 great-grand.
Pardon?
3 great-grandchildren.
2 great-grandchildren. 3?
Three.
Yeah, 3.
You lost count.
So we
Pretty
have
good.
a wonderful family. This is what made it wonderful right there. Sincerely, that's my baby. I raised her from a little pup
Who did the raising?
Where did you meet her?
in an elevator.
Where? What city?
Remember?
You tell her.
Yeah, you tell them.
Where was the elevator?
Spokane, Washington.
And what did you do?
I looked at her at that elevator and I whistled at her.
And I was stupid enough to fall for it. I'm still around.
We've had a wonderful life together. God bless us. Please give us more.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
How long have you been here in Broomfield?
In Broomfield, we came here in
63.
1960.
3.
I was going to say 62. 63
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause we came here from Hawaii,
from Hawaii.
and we went to Hawaii in 61.
We had 2 years in Hawaii, 61 to 60,
Yeah.
63.
Yeah, see?
That's right.
So we came,
Then we came to Colorado, where men are men and women were happy with the whole arrangement.
where did they want to send you? After Hawaii, they want to send you to Anchorage, Alaska.
That's right.
And Mike says, do you have anything else? Yeah. Colorado, we're looking for a number 2 man in Denver. General Osler wanted you, so we ended up in Denver.
Yeah, which I loved and still love.
Yeah. It's getting too big, though.
Gee, Denver's been good to us from that very day to the present.
And then we found we had a ready-made dentist living in Broomfield.
Right here.
Then I raised him. I held him in my arms when he was born. I told you that, didn't I? But I made one very grave error. I should have dropped him.
Now, Mike, that's a fib, because you told him last year on his birthday that you were awfully glad you didn't drop him.
Yeah, because I didn't want the law to get me.
Didn't he, Dookie? He wrote it on a card.
Well, Mike, I want you to tell them about when you grew up, that how the miners are out there in the coal camps and they come into town on Saturday night and the cowboys would fight the miners. So the following Saturday night, in came Mike and you cleaned up whoever touched any of those miners. I want you to tell that story.
What was that story, Mother?
I don't know. This is what I don't know.
I don't remember.
No, when, like some of those old miners that when they went into town Saturday night, cowboys would work them over and beat them up. So when the word got back out to Kirby, you then the next Saturday night you were out looking for them, and you ended all that stuff very shortly.
Yeah, I kicked the shit out of several of them. I mean, I really beat the hell out of them. I could handle these in those days.
What were they doing?
Do you remember what they were doing?
Well, they were beating up on the miners.
See, the coal miners, it's coal mining area, and they were beating up on them. They were all Slavic people of one kind or another, or Bohemian.
Oh, that was recreation.
Huh?
That was recreation.
Yes.
That was,
I've had an interesting life.
You sure have.
well, I think you ought to, one of the best things I think you ought to have in there is the time that your mother hit you on the back of the head and you told her well, what'd you do that for? I didn't do anything. She said, no, but you're going to. I want you to tell that story. Here.
That's
Oh,
all
your
there.
dad's
No, but hey.
bootlegging.
But tell me, I didn't get it. What's the story?
I've forgotten what I was doing. Do you remember? And Mama hit me on the back of the head.
I didn't know you in those days.
Do you remember that?
No, but I heard about it. But, and then, what'd you say to her?
Yes.
What did you say to her after she hit you?
I called her a name. And boy, she really whacked me. I've had a wonderful life.
And she said, and you asked her why?
Why did you, yeah, see, she's asked you, why did you hit me?
Say that.
Say,
Say, why did you hit me?
I asked her why she hit me. Did she tell me?
yes, she did. What'd she say?
You said you didn't do anything.
She said, no, but you will. That was it.
Okay.
Oh my.
And
I had a
about
wonderful
stealing
family. Oh, wonderful.
Mike?
Huh?
about stealing the bootleg your dad was making? Stealing the bootleg your dad was making?
I would steal it. Yeah.
You and Bill Coblin
Yeah,
took
we
it
would
across
steal
the
it.
river.
We'd
Got the
sell
whole High
it.
school tanked up.
We'd sell it. That's where we got our spending money. I'd steal my dad's liquor. I had a wonderful life.
He was illegal too, wasn't he?
Huh?
He was doing something very illegal too.
My dad.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That was in our family. We-
Hey, tell the story about Sig Nelson and the grapes asking Uncle Eli about the grapes. How many grapes do you want? Oh, Eli said, I want to get some grapes and make jelly for the, I want to get some grapes. And so Sig Nelson told him, well, yeah, I've got some nice Concord grapes. How many do you want? He says, well, about 3 tons. I want to make some jelly for the kids. I think that's a good story.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, you tell that.
That's all there is to it.
No, but see, we want it on
The
the
camera
film.
didn't hear that because he doesn't have a microphone. You got the microphone.
Well, how did it start?
Well, Eli wanted to get some grapes.
Eli.
Wasn't it Eli? Uncle Eli.
He was, what relation was he to me at that
There
time?
was no relation. You just called him Uncle Eli.
Yeah, and he was much older than I. And he wanted some
Grapes.
grapes. So I told him.
Well, that isn't the story.
No, I think it was the thing. He says, "Oh, I just want to make some jelly for the kids. How many grapes do you want? Oh, about 3 tons."
My goodness.
Well,
He's
the
forgotten
story
that.
I remember was your dad wanted some grapes, and when the train came in, what was the story then? The train came in, and he said he wanted it for his kids.
That's a,
He just wanted the grapes for his kids.
That was my dad. Yes.
Well, how did
I
that
think we're
story
pretty good.
go?
yeah. Okay.
I think
Yeah,
we can
you
do a
can
lot
put-
here.
Okay.
I've got some good ideas here. So thank
Right.
you very much.
Yeah.
God love you.